Welcome, everyone. Happy World Vegan Day. My name is Meredith Marine. I'm the CEO of Vegan Hospitality, and we welcome you to the third Global Vegan Hospitality and Tourism Conference. Our global team is here. We have a lot of consultants on this call as well. So we are represented in over 25 countries. And today you will also hear from my colleagues, Haley, who is in South Africa, and Sophie, who is in France. Today's theme is the future of hospitality, trends and predictions. We found many themes, of course, and I think a lot of these themes are not going to be a huge surprise to you because you've read what speakers we have coming and what their topics are from our website. So we are focusing on a couple of core themes, wellness being one, sustainability, and of course, plant-forward menus. Now, like I said, this is our third conference, our second one that is on World Vegan Day. We also do a conference on April 22nd on Earth Day. So you'll hear more about that as well if you would like to continue learning from us. So over the past year, there really has been a global shift in these three pillars. And because there's a shift focusing on wellness and focusing on sustainability, we are seeing a drive for more plant-forward menus. And this is in dining and it's also in tourism. So not just in the menus, but in what the amenities look like and where people are choosing to stay when they go on vacation. There's also an urgency to address the climate crisis. And we need to do that through hospitality solutions. Companies can no longer ignore this. And so we are seeing large companies make plant-forward commitments and pledges. And we're going to be talking about that today as well. A couple of predictions just to get you started right away. We can expect rapid growth in plant-based hospitality offerings through partnerships. So we've already seen over the years partnerships with large meat companies, for example, like Beyond Meat or Impossible Foods. They're partnering with large chains, with hotels. We're now starting to see some of the smaller companies coming up and making partnerships and partnering with hotels in particular. Vegan tourism will continue to grow as a distinct niche. So like I said before, it is not just the menus. We're talking about attracting vegan customers and vegan guests to your resorts, to your lodges, to your hotels, and to your restaurants, and doing that in a way that is really focusing on the full guest experience. Plant-based menu education is coming to universities. It's already there. It's not just coming, it's already there. You're actually going to hear from a speaker today who is the hospitality management chair of a university, and she's going to talk about the work that she's been doing to get plant-based menu education into her university. And finally, hotels and resorts will focus more on carbon neutrality, net positive hospitality, and waste reduction. I actually just got back from a conference myself. I just arrived back in Aruba last night. I was in San Antonio, Texas at the World Sustainable Hospitality Alliance Summit, and their main theme right now is net positive hospitality. And we know that we really can't achieve that without listening to the vegan customer perspective and moving toward a plant-based food system. So let's introduce you to Vegan Hospitality if you're not already familiar. We are the highest standard for professional vegan hospitality training and certification worldwide. We are the first and only certification programs for vegan hospitality consultants and for vegan guest services. And we have the largest network of vegan hospitality consultants across the globe. We are on every continent except for Antarctica. Our mission is to help hospitality professionals successfully and confidently serve their vegan guests, making it accessible and acceptable for vegans to dine and travel. And this part is really important. We want them to experience the same standard of quality as everyone else. And that really can be a benchmark for you to consider if you currently own a restaurant, work for a hotel. I really want you to start thinking about this as you listen to these presenters. Do your vegan guests experience the same standard of quality as everyone else who's invited to your hotel, resort, or restaurant? How do we accomplish our mission? And I just want to give a quick reminder if everyone can mute themselves just so we don't have any background noise. Thank you. So we accomplish our mission through, number one, hotel certification. We're setting the industry standard for the vegan guest experience, and we'll talk a little bit more about that today. Sustainability alignment. We help hospitality groups reduce food-related emissions by managing implementation of their plant-forward pledges. And we can also support hospitality groups in making plant-forward pledges if you're not there yet with that aspect of things. We also train and certify vegan hospitality consultants in our consulting method, which is called high impact hospitality consulting, because we really believe in making a high impact for the customer, but also for the business. And we have some wonderful projects happening with mission-aligned partners. Like I said, I just got back from the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance Summit. We've also really been focusing a lot on the Sustainable Events Network to help event professionals. So we're very excited about partnering. And if you have an organization that you feel is aligned with our mission, we would love to hear from you. All right, this is my last slide, and then we're going to get started with the presentations. So today's event, we have 7 speakers from 4 countries. We are going to be focusing on menu engineering, certification programs, trends and data, vegan wines. If you're not sure what vegan wines are, you're going to be in for a treat, and so much more. We have over 200 people from over 39 countries registered for today's event. People will be coming in and out. And if you need to leave and come back, that is also fine. We love it for you to be here, but we understand staring at a screen for 2.5 hours is quite a big ask. Some people do it and they'll be here till the end, and we love you for that. So please feel free to come and go as you please. These are forward-thinking hospitality professionals and also vegan customers. And we feel that this event is so unique because we bring these 2 segments together in dialogue to learn, and then we continue the conversation. So we really want you to take what you learn, share it on social media, bring it back to your companies, and share it with your employees as well. But we really are action-oriented. So we're not here just to teach you, but we want to help you implement what we learn and what you learn today. So we're all learning from each other. We would like to work with you. We would like to support you. So please feel free to keep in touch once this conference is over. All right, I'm going to stop my screen share now because we have a very special presentation. So let's move into that. All right, so we have session 1 is called Barriers and Opportunities, and we are going to have insights from Veganuary participants that can help your business capitalize on the growing plant-based market. We have Tony Vernelli, who is the International Head of Policy and Communications at Veganuary, and she is based in the UK. So Tony, you can unmute yourself and feel free to share your screen if you like.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, thank you all for joining. I do have slides, so I will be sharing my screen. I'm going to turn my camera off while I share my screen because you won't be able to see me anyways. And I have very dodgy internet, so it will help at my end if I stop my video. So just bear with a moment. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. Yeah, great. Okay, I'm just going to minimize you guys as well, actually, because you're kind of in the way. Right, cool. So do shout if anything's going awry, because I can't see any of you. So every year after January, people who have opted to receive our 31-day coaching emails as part of their Veganuary pledge are sent a survey via email, and we asked them a lot of questions about their Veganuary experience. So these are the results from our 2024 participants, so last January. So as a start, we asked just basic demographics. So using YouGov, which is a polling company in many of our core countries, we conducted population surveys asking people if they had taken part in Veganuary. Now, we know this number is much bigger than the number who actually opt to receive our daily emails. So using those YouGov statistics and then the populations of those countries, our core countries, we calculated that about 25 million people worldwide actually took part in January and gave up animal products for at least part of the month. And then this email went to a subsection of those who actually opted to receive our support emails. So we had almost 20,000 people respond to this online survey, which is still a great sample size if anyone here works in sociology. Oh dear, the formatting of my slides have gone crazy. Oh well, you can still read them. So here's what they told us. So their diet before Veganuary, 40% had an omnivorous diet, 12% were still eating fish, 29% veggie, and then 19% were already vegan. So over half the people who took part were still eating meat and fish. And then gender breakdown, I mean, this is the same every year. It's virtually entirely female. It's always over 80% female, unfortunately. But we know since most women buy the groceries and do the majority of the cooking, in a lot of households, that will still have an impact on the rest of the family. And then age group. So we do see a good split sort of across 25 to 64, which is quite nice to see. It's not just something that young people do. And in fact, in that really, key group there, 18 to 24, that people think would be the most likely to take part, it's actually much lower. So we see a good uptake. Here you can see 45 to 54 is actually our largest percentage of participants, but a pretty even spread from 25 up to 65. So how did they get on? So this question, did you maintain a vegan diet during January? So that's only asked to the people who were not already vegan when they started. So 45% actually managed to do it for the whole month, which is relatively high compared to what some polls have shown from just, the overall population. So we feel that that shows actually the support materials we send out are really helpful to people. And then after Veganuary, do they plan to continue with a vegan diet? And again, this question was only asked to those who said they had maintained it for the whole month. So 30% of those people said yes, they were going to continue with a vegan diet. But what's more interesting, and certainly more important for helping animals and the planet, we asked the people who were not choosing to stay vegan if they planned to reduce their consumption of animal products going forward. And 47% said yes, they were going to reduce by 75% or more. 27% said that they would reduce by 50% or more. So in total, almost 75% of people who were not going to stay vegan were going to reduce by 50% going forward. And that will have a huge impact for animals and the planet, and obviously for businesses, because these are people who will still be looking for plant-based options when they go to restaurants and hotels after January. And of course, this is always going to be a much, much, much bigger percentage of the population than people who eat a fully vegan diet. So these are really the ones that need to be on your radar. And these are the people who, really are going to be buying the majority of the plant-based options. And then how likely are you to try a vegan diet again in the future? And again, between all the categories that said likely to some degree, it was 92% said they would try it again in the future. So their experience was obviously fairly positive. That's just a summary of those slides. So 82% overall will make a significant diet change when you take into consideration those staying vegan and those reducing by half. So what made the ones who are going to stay fully vegan decide to do that? So the number one is they learned more about veganism. So that's quite broad, but we know it's, learning how to cook with new vegan products, learning more about the impacts of types of animal agriculture, etc. Improved health. So that's always nice to see, number two. And then number three, it was just easier than they expected it to be. So why not carry on? But a bit more relevant to you is what people found challenging while they were doing Veganuary. And number one, and this is number one every year, dining out. So this is still an area where people find the options lacking. So there's plenty of options in the supermarket and people are quite happy cooking from scratch. You can see missing non-vegan foods was actually number 3 and far, far behind dining out. So it's not that, they're desperate to eat the non-vegan foods. It's really just going out to eat that they find quite challenging. And then dealing with friends and family. And, we're quite convinced that these two interact quite a lot, because going out to eat with your friends and family can be a real nightmare when you're following, any type of special diet. So we do need to make it a lot easier for people to be able to go out to any restaurant, not a vegan restaurant, because, most of your friends and family aren't going to want to go there. The point is that we need all restaurants to be offering really nice plant-based dishes. not just the token one dish of hummus and falafel on the menu. And then which products did they miss the most? Well, this is a surprise to absolutely no one, but it's cheese. So if you are a specialist in manufacturing artisanal cheeses, there is a golden opportunity for you out there. Vegan cheeses that are readily available are not up to scratch. That is just the reality. So yeah, anything that you can do to make cheesy type dishes nice, without using actual cheese, would be appreciated. And then eggs. And again, you can bake a cake without eggs. That's not a problem. But I think people do miss, like the equivalent of a fried egg or an omelette, and seafood. So they're not really missing any other types of meat, really, because there's so many alternatives available for that now. Ooh, I need to do it this way. Here we go. Okay, this is about shopping in the UK, and this is just putting what you just saw into a different version. And then when we're analyzing the free text boxes, what comes up the most in great big letters: cheese. People want to see a cheese that actually has a consistency and taste similar to cheese made from animals, which really is not quite there yet. And then this slide as well will be highly relevant to you, where we're just taking this information, into a bit more detail. So if you're not from the UK, oops, sorry, can I go back? No, how do I go back? Here we go. Okay. Oh, no, too far. Okay. There we go. If you're not from the UK, this list might not mean that much to you, but hopefully some of these names are fairly recognizable. So we asked people which chain or cafe they visited during Veganuary. So number one was Independence, which I found quite surprising, actually. But, that's great to see. And then none in the current economic situation. That's not a big surprise. Greg's is a high street I want to say bakery here. They do things like sausage rolls and, hot meat-based pasties, and then donuts and other baked goods. So they have a vegan sausage roll, and they always do like a vegan steak baked pasty, usually during Veganuary. So they're very popular, cheap, and they're everywhere. Costa Coffee, this is a high street coffee chain. You probably have them in most of your countries. They have a great vegan selection. I don't know what that is. McDonald's. They do two different burgers here, I think, just a normal Big Mac, and then you can have like a double Big Mac or something. Wagamama, so again, probably in many of your countries, but a Japanese-inspired high street chain. 50% of their menu is now plant-based. Starbucks, they do great plant-based options here in the UK. Burger King, again, really good plant-based options in the UK. They do the Whopper, they do a chicken type burger, they do a bacon double cheeseburger here that's all plant-based. They do nuggets, chicken style nuggets. It's incredible. Domino's, great plant-based selection again, including fake meats and cheeses. Pret-a-manger, it's a takeaway. Selection's quite boring, actually, but a lot of it is plant-based. Subway, Cafe Nero. Wetherspoons, that's a big pub chain here in the UK, and they always do like a Beyond Meat burger special that they promote quite heavily, and it's very reasonably priced, so it's affordable for people. Papa John's Pizza, and you can see the rest. Somehow Wetherspoons has ended up on there twice. Nando's, big chicken chain that actually do vegan chicken offerings here in the UK, as well as quite a few plant-based offerings on side dishes and things as well. KFC, they have the one plant-based chicken burger. And then down at the bottom here, you can see ones that actually no one went to. And what's really interesting is that most of these didn't do any promotion. So a lot of them have very good plant-based offerings. Honest Burger do great, Beyond Burger. Beefeater's got loads of plant-based options. That's a pub chain here in the UK. And despite the name, they have great plant-based options. Bella Italia has tons, Ask Italia. They all have plenty of offerings, but they didn't do any promotions of it during Veganuary. And then we asked people how they found the offerings in high street chain restaurants. So whether they felt there were enough varieties of options for the three different types of courses. So the starter, the main, and the dessert. And although they felt there wasn't enough options for all three. There's a big difference between, starters and mains, and then desserts. So the plant-based dessert options are really lacking. And it's just a bit of a letdown. You go to a restaurant and they've made a real effort, to have starters and mains, and then the dessert is just something so boring like sorbet. Like I'm never paying for sorbet in a restaurant. So yeah, the restaurants really need to up their game on the desserts. And it's so easy. There's so many things, it's so easy to just substitute in plant milks and leave out eggs and put in something different to bind things. It really is one of the easiest things to make plant-based. And then these will be very UK specific delivery apps, but didn't order, or they just ordered direct from the restaurant. And then the other one's much of a muchness, an equal split between Just Eat, Deliveroo, Uber Eats. And then I just wanted to highlight some of these. So, if we're comparing like 3 different coffee chains, who saw the most benefit during Veganuary based on what our participants told us, like Costa and Starbucks did really well. They had huge promos, like Costa did the most promotion. They launched a whole range of new plant-based options with these 2 UK chefs. Starbucks had some new offerings. And then Cafe Nero, which is just as available on the high street as the other 2, our participants didn't frequent at all. And again, great options. They've got plant-based cheesecake, all sorts of great things on the menu, but they didn't promote it at all. So no one knew. And then equally with our pub chains here in the UK. So we had Wetherspoons, really benefited. And then these 2, not at all, despite having good offerings, but they just didn't promote them. So the last one, because this will be relevant to you. What influenced their purchasing decisions? Now, this covers both shopping and eating in restaurants, but it's still relevant. So it's still taste. Cost is important and people care about health, but taste is still the number one. It has to taste good. That's why people spend money on going out to eat. And, when you buy food from the supermarket, particularly when you're on a tight shoestring, you want it to taste good because it's comforting. And are they concerned about ultra-processed foods? Because obviously this has gotten a lot of publicity recently. And yes, 80% are concerned about it. But how would they prefer to get their protein? Well, actually, a lot of people want a mix of both. They want some whole food options like tofu and tempeh and the legumes and nuts, but they also want to eat some of the more, meat type things like sausages and burgers as a treat. So although a lot of people, like 50%, want it all to come from whole foods. Over 40% do want a mix of both. And then, of course, there's the die-hard, I don't care. I just want to eat things that taste nice, that prefer the meat alternatives. That's not really relevant. So yes, if you are interested in working with Veganuary this January to help launch plant-based menu options or promote your existing menu options, then please drop us an email. We'd love to work with you.
Thank you, Tony, for that wonderful presentation. And thank you to those of you engaging in the chat. We love to see your comments. And I saw a lot of comments about other regions outside of the UK that are not doing as well as far as having these kind of plant-based options so easily accessible in dining. And I saw somebody commented that, wow, even in the UK with all of these options, they're still unsatisfied. So we definitely need to do better in the countries that are having less options than the UK. I want to also note that we do not have time for questions for each presenter because these are mini sessions, but we will present you with all the contact information at the end. We're going to email everyone with contact information of all the presenters, so you are welcome to follow up with them in their emails, on their websites, and on LinkedIn. Tony, I also just loved your emphasis on promoting. I woke up this morning, opened up my Instagram, like probably a lot of you, and I saw the Aruba Tourism Board. So I'm located in Aruba. I saw the Aruba Tourism Board with an announcement, Happy World Vegan Day, promoting all the vegan options at the restaurants and hotels in Aruba. And I thought, that's incredible. Why isn't every destination doing this? And we need to be doing that. I also had an experience, as Tony mentioned, last night I went out to eat at a vegan friendly place. and they had a vegan chocolate cake on the menu, on their dessert menu. And when I tried to order it, they didn't have it. And it was the only vegan option for dessert. And I said, "Are you sure? Why don't you have it?" "Well, it's so popular, it's not in stock." And that's a great answer, whether that was true or not. I love that answer. But if your vegan options are so popular that you're running out, it's time to make another vegan option. So you need more than one vegan dessert option. So that's a PSA for any restaurants who are listening. So I'm going to put up a poll so we can start to build some trends of our own here, and then we will move on to the next presenter. So here we go. We are going to launch this poll and see what everybody thinks. Which vegan menu item are you most excited to see become mainstream in hospitality? And I think we know what we're going to get based on Tony's presentation, but let's see. So I'll give you a minute to vote, and then we'll see what the leading answer is. And of course, we want to see all of these products become mainstream in hospitality because, like I shared before, our goal is for the vegan customer or the person who's wanting to access a vegan lifestyle. Maybe they're not fully vegan yet, but they want to be vegan or they're trying to be more plant-based. We want them to have the same standard of quality experience as everyone else. All right, 80% of you have participated in the poll. Let's get a couple more. Okay, interesting. Plant-based fine dining is leading above cheeses. I thought cheeses was going to win, but they're pretty close. So all of you who work with restaurants, you have your work cut out for you. Now you know we need to see more plant-based fine dining creations and, of course, plant-based cheeses and everything else. I'm going to end this poll, share the results. All right, and if anyone wants to take a screenshot at any time, you can take a screenshot. You can share this with your audiences. You can share it on social media. Let's close the poll. All right, so I'm very excited to now share the stage with Chef Matthew Thompson. He is the Chief Culinary Officer at Phoenix 3. He is in Rhode Island in the USA. He's got a ton of experience. I got to chat with him a couple of weeks ago and really learned a lot from him. So he's talking about hot cuisine to spa cuisine, a culinary evolution of nutritional strategies for plant-based menus. I know we are going to learn a lot today. So Chef Matthew, go ahead. Oh, perfect. You shared your screen so quickly. I'm going to put myself on mute and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Meredith, and welcome again to the conference and happy World Vegan Day, everybody. I'm thrilled to be here and share some culinary strategies for delighting, nourishing, and exceeding your diners' expectations. I have some great content, so we're going to jump right in. As Meredith mentioned, we're going to start with exploring the rich history of culinary movements from hot cuisine to nouvelle cuisine, and ultimately end on spa cuisine, and how these legacies can inform the development of innovative, exciting vegan menu options in restaurants and hotels. A growing awareness of health, environmental sustainability, and animal welfare concerns has driven the rise of plant-based dining. Over the past decade, more consumers have embraced plant-based diets, leading to a surge in demand for vegan and vegetarian options in restaurants. Advances in food technology have brought innovations like plant-based meats, dairy alternatives, and creative vegetable dishes catering to vegans and flexitarians alike. This shift has transformed menus across the globe, with many establishments now offering diverse, flavorful plant-based meals that appeal to a wide range of diners, signaling a shift in mainstream food culture. Haute cuisine, or high cuisine, represents the pinnacle of French culinary traditions defined by meticulous preparation, elaborate presentations, and premium ingredients. Emerging in the 17th century, it set the standard for fine dining with complex techniques like flambeing and intricate sauces, establishing a legacy that influenced the culinary arts worldwide. Modern chefs use haute cuisine's precision and artistry to blend classic techniques with contemporary flavors. In contrast, the farm to table movement and the elevation of the chefs to almost celebrity status has had a lasting impact. In the 1960s and 70s, nouvelle cuisine shifted away from hot cuisines like formality and focused more on simplicity, freshness, and local ingredients. That laid the foundation for spa cuisine's emphasis on health, wellness, and natural flavors. Spa cuisine emerged in the late 20th century, blending health, wellness, and natural flavors with a focus on fresh, seasonal ingredients to preserve nutrients. It emphasizes low-calorie, nutrient-dense foods like organic produce, lean proteins, and whole grains, and it aligned with the cultural shift in lifestyle choices supporting physical and mental well-being. As wellness tourism grew, spa cuisine became central to resort experiences, and they often paired nutritional workshops to promote lasting healthy habits. Now synonymous with clean eating, spa cuisine has evolved to embrace plant-based meals, gluten-free options, and superfoods, inspiring chefs worldwide to craft balanced, health-focused dishes without sacrificing flavor or creativity. Couple of future culinary trends that I see coming. First is hyper-personalization, then sustainable practices, and of course, tech-enabled cooking. They all shape the future of culinary. Hyper-personalization will allow diners to customize their meals based on dietary needs, preferences, and genetic profiles, offering an individual dining experience. Sustainable practice will become increasingly central, focused on reducing food waste, sourcing locally, emphasizing plant-based options to minimize environmental impact. Tech-enabled cooking, from AI-powered kitchen appliances to smart devices that monitor cooking, will streamline food preparation, improve efficiency, and enhance creativity in both home and professional kitchens, making the future of dining more tailored, eco-conscious, and innovative. A growing focus on health, environmental impact, and holistic well-being drives the shift towards nutritional consciousness in food choices. Consumers are increasingly aware of diet's role in preventing chronic diseases and maintaining overall health, leading to greater demand for nutrient-dense whole foods. Health concerns like heart disease, diabetes, and obesity have promoted people to reduce processed food, sugar, and unhealthy fats in favor of fresh plant-based options. Additionally, the environmental impact of food production, especially meat and dairy, has influenced a move towards more sustainable eating practices, with many choosing diets that are good for both their bodies and the planet. This shift also embraces holistic health, where food is critical to mental, emotional, and physical well-being, promoting balance and longevity. Spa cuisine embodies a commitment to wellness, nourishment, and sustainability, creating a holistic dining experience that aligns with a health-conscious, environmentally mindful lifestyle. Spa cuisine emphasizes nutrient-dense, minimally processed ingredients and focuses on foods that support bodily wellness while delivering clean, vibrant flavors. Many dishes are crafted to boost energy, aid digestion, enhance physical and mental vitality, often featuring locally sourced produce, sustainable proteins, and seasonal ingredients. This mindful approach to food preparation promotes individual well-being. It supports environmental health, as chefs prioritize eco-friendly practices like reducing food waste, choosing organic and regenerative agriculture, and minimizing the carbon footprint on their menu. Together, these values make spa cuisine an appealing choice for diners seeking a nourishing, sustainable experience that satisfies both body and soul. So let's explore a couple of vegan ingredients. Everyone wants the benefits of a plant-based diet, but many see it as giving something up. Plant-based cooking techniques were rarely taught when I started as a chef. I can't tell you how many people I met that says, I don't like tofu, until they realize, okay, here's how you press it, marinate, and properly produce it. Vegetables were often regulated as side dishes. Rather, they deserve center stage, with the same attention to detail traditionally given to meat. By embracing a diverse range of vegan ingredients, from nutrient-rich fruits and vegetables to grains, legumes, nuts, and fresh herbs, we can create wholesome, vibrant meals that are as nutritious as they are satisfying, shifting plant-based foods to the center of the plate. So here's some innovative cooking techniques that will help us bring plant-based dining to the mainstream. First is fermentation. Fermentation involves using natural bacteria to ferment plant-based ingredients like vegetables, things like kimchi and sauerkraut, great examples. Legumes like tempeh, and grains, sourdough bread, perfect example. They enhance flavor, add probiotics for gut health, and improve digestibility. Then there's technology like sous vide. Sous vide is a precision cooking method where plant-based ingredients like vegetables, tofu, or fruit are vacuum sealed and cooked at controlled low temperatures in a water bath. This technique locks the nutrients, maintains perfect texture, and intensifies flavor. Next is molecular gastronomy. It uses scientific techniques like spherification or foaming, jellification, and transforms plant-based ingredients into surprising textures and foams. For example, agar-agar can create vegan caviar, or air-based foams made of fruits and herbs for visual and sensory appeal. And then lastly, there's plant-based butter. The creation of creamy, rich butter made with nuts like cashews or almonds. Could also be made from seeds like sunflower or even coconut oil. These are blended and emulsified to provide dairy-free alternatives that can be used for baking, cooking, or finishing that give a luxurious mouthfeel. These techniques enhance vegan cuisine, allowing for more sophisticated, creative, and flavorful plant-based dishes. So here's a couple of pictures. We said, fine dining was one of those opportunities, and a couple pictures here of some fine dining dishes. Plating and presentation, the aesthetic appeal is so important in vegan cuisine. It elevates the dining experience. It showcases the natural beauty of the plant-based ingredient, and it compensates for the absence of traditional animal-based elements. So here's some things for us to keep in mind. First, vibrant colors. Plant-based ingredients naturally offer a wide spectrum of colors, from deep reds of beets to the bright greens of spinach, creating visual and striking plates that appeal to the eye before the palate. Next up, cultural contrast. You see a couple of examples here of crispy components, but balancing crispy, smooth, creamy, and crunchy elements enhance the sensory experience and gives depth to a vegan dish. For example, pairing roasted vegetables with a silky nut butter adds complexity. Then there's heights in layers. Building dishes vertically or creating layers adds dimensionality and sophistication, drawing attention to the intricacies in preparation and making the dish more visually attractive. Edible flowers and microgreens are very popular right now. They add a pop of color and contribute to the dish's freshness and elegance and enhance aesthetic and flavor. Minimal plating is also super trendy and popular right now. It creates clean presentations that allow the ingredients to shine, drawing focus to the quality of the vegetables, grains, or sauces. This approach highlights the beauty of each element without overcrowding the plate. Geometric shapes and symmetry, utilizing techniques to create symmetrical structured food arrangements or cutting vegetables into precise shapes adds artistic and refined touches, making the dish visually organized and appealing. Then there's creative saucing techniques. There's one example here. Sauces can be drizzled or swirled or dotted on the plate, and they serve both as a flavor component and a decorative feature that helps tie the dish together visually. Then we want to always showcase natural ingredients. We mentioned that a couple of times, but presenting ingredients in their whole form or minimally processed, something like a roasted half squash or a medley of grilled root vegetables, allows their shapes and textures to stand out and emphasizes the purity of plant-based dining. We have a lot of great examples here of plate contrast. Choosing the right plate color enhances the visual impact of ingredients. For instance, vibrant greens contrast beautifully against dark plates, whereas a white plate like the one that you see here can make colors of a rainbow salad really pop. And then lastly, attention to portioning. Choosing the right portion helps maintain balance on the plate and ensures that no element overwhelms another. And this careful arrangement contributes to a sense of elegance and thoughtfulness in our dishes. Another way to think about delivering vegan cuisine is adapting traditional or classic dishes. This helps us meet diverse dietary needs and allows chefs to reimagine familiar flavors with plant-based ingredients. Using alternatives like tempeh or seitan, cashew cream, flaxseed can make vegan versions like lasagna and burgers and even something like coq au vin retain comforting nostalgia of the traditional meal while supporting health and sustainability. Although replicating the textures of meat and dairy can be a challenge, especially for dishes like cheese, we've already spoken about that. If we can choose the ingredients carefully, things like nutritional yeast and tapioca starch, we can really get a satisfying result. With creativity, chefs can adapt these classics to delight vegan diners while honoring the dish's original essence. Other things that we can do is balancing flavor, texture, and nutrition. It involves skillfully combining ingredients to create dishes that are satisfying and nutritious. Flavor depth can be achieved using umami-rich ingredients like mushrooms, tomatoes, nutritional yeast, and miso. These lend to savory notes that enhance the plant-based meals for complexity. For texture, incorporating various elements, for example, creamy avocado, a smooth nut butter, then adding some crispy roasted vegetables or crunchy seeds. These create layers of contrast that make every bite more engaging. Nutritionally, focusing on diverse whole foods like legumes and grains and vegetables ensure a robust profile of vitamins and minerals and ultimately protein. Combining these with heart-healthy fats and complex carbohydrates like those found in nuts, seeds, and whole grains deliver an indulgent meal without sacrificing on health. Seasonings like fresh herbs and acids from citrus or vinegar can further brighten flavors, making each dish well-rounded and memorable. We also want to make sure that we incorporate vegan superfoods. And superfoods are nutrient-dense ingredients that enhance plant-based dishes with exceptional health. It also adds unique textures and exciting flavors. Staples like chia seeds or quinoa, kale, and spirulina, hemp seeds, and nutritional yeast are all rich in vitamins and minerals and also antioxidants. This helps boost the nutritional values of meals while adding a culinary flair. For example, chia seeds, very high in omega-3s, work great in puddings or sauces, while quinoa, for example, is a high protein source great for salads and bowls. Layering these superfoods with complementary ingredients, such as pairing grains and legumes and nuts with nutrient-packed vegetables, really creates a visually dynamic plate. We can also add techniques like we spoke about earlier, sprouting, fermenting, or adding raw elements further enhance nutrient absorption, allowing for chefs to craft delicious and beneficial dishes. Celebrating vegan protein is something that is also a challenge in the marketplace, and we should be venturing beyond the familiar staples, things like tofu and chickpeas, to discover an array of nutrient-rich plant-based foods that add diversity and depth to a vegan diet. Ingredients like hemp seeds or tempeh, edamame, and lentils all offer excellent proteins. They are unique flavors, and they also add great texture to a dish. Lesser known options are also available, things like spirulina and pumpkin seeds with nutritional yeast. They bring protein and essential vitamins and enhancing a meal's nutritional profile. Grains like quinoa and farro, they're rich in protein and fiber. They serve as healthy bases, while incorporating ancient grains and nuts into dishes creates satisfying, balanced meals. Don't forget the vegetables. Even things like spinach and broccoli and peas have surprisingly health benefits, including boosting protein. When seasoned properly, think tempeh marinated for depth, or hemp seeds sprinkled on a dish for crunch, or even nutritional yeast for that cheesy taste and texture that we spoke about earlier. These ingredients meet both the protein needs and are exciting and are nutrient dense for any vegan cooking. Using vegan dairy alternatives in cooking for rich textures is another great technique. Coconut milk, cashew cream, and other almond-based products bring creamy, silky textures, perfect for things like sauces or soups and desserts, and they provide healthy fats that add depth and richness. Coconut milk and cream add a tropical, luxurious smoothness, while cashew cream has a neutral base and can be blended in virtually any dish to add a velvety texture without overpowering on flavors. Vegan butters that we mentioned earlier, made from various things like nuts and oils, they lend great for creamy textures and actually help with the relatability of dishes and the savoriness. For recipes that benefit from subtle creamy notes, it's important to think about things like oat or soy-based dairy substitutes, because they have a very neutral flavor and they allow spices and other seasonings to shine through. So with these options, vegan dairy provides the fat and the texture to create memorable and comforting dishes. So today we explored the evolution of culinary movements and how vegan and plant-based options have become central to modern dining. We traced the journey from hot cuisine to nouvelle cuisine and ultimately spa cuisine, each reflecting a shift towards health-conscious, sustainable, and inclusive eating. We emphasized the rise of plant-based dining, driven by health, environmental, and ethical concerns, leading to a creative and nutritious vegan option in restaurants. This transformation aligns with the broader culinary landscape, where hyper-personalization, sustainable practice, and innovative cooking techniques like molecular gastronomy and sous vide will redefine vegan cooking. We also highlighted vegan ingredients like superfoods and protein sources, providing insights into balancing flavor, texture, and nutrition for memorable plant-based dining. So I asked each of you, reimagine your approach to dining. Encourage chefs, restaurateurs, and consumers alike to embrace plant-based choices as a path to personal wellness and environmental sustainability. By celebrating the artistry of vegan cuisine, you're expanding culinary experiences, contributing to a movement that respects health, nature, and the future of dining. Make every plate a celebration of flavor, nourishment, and compassion for the planet. Please reach out and connect with me on any of these platforms. I'd love to hear your stories and find some points of collaboration. Thanks so much for your time, and Meredith, back to you.
Thank you, Chef Matthew, for that informative and very encouraging presentation. You gave people a lot of options. So I really think that even if someone implements 1/10 of what you have presented, then they're off to a really good start. Thank you for that. I also see some really great encouraging comments in the chat, and some interesting comments. People are very hungry now. Go get yourself something to eat. We all just looked at food, and you're going to get hungrier as we continue. I see beyond thrilled to see the chef recommending whole foods, and also emphasizing that amongst the new presentations, we need to have also veganized traditional meals on the menu. Absolutely. Thank you all for your engagement. One thing that stood out to me, Chef, is the focus on plating, because that is something so often overlooked. I mean, you see a lot of burgers out there, a lot of Beyond Burgers, and we need to remember that plants are what you actually use to plate your meat usually to make your meat dishes colorful. And so we can't forget that when we're serving the plant-based options, we need to use the same plating techniques that we're using for all the other food for everybody else. So don't forget, the vegans eat with their eyes too. We need to focus on that. Another thing that occurred to me as you were presenting is this focus on wellness. Something I've heard as a trend lately is not only doing that for the customer, but also for the employees of the companies. And I don't know, Matthew, if you've seen this at the spaces you've worked in. I know you're also working a lot in the senior living space, but I've seen with resorts and hotels now, and also with events and festivals, talking about offering their employees, their staff, these more sustainable, these more health forward options. And of course, we want our employees to feel good too and have these options. So it's so important to not forget about that segment. I am going to put up another poll because we really need to hear from everybody and see what everybody is thinking about all these things. So let's put up, maybe this is a controversial one. Let's see. What percentage of a menu do you think should be plant-based by 2030? So we're giving it about 5 years. In about 5 years, do you want to see 20% of a restaurant's menu be plant-based, 30%, 50%, 75%, or do you think the restaurants should all have fully vegan menus by 2030? All right. So far, people are going for pretty fair 50%. Got a little more coming for 75%, or we want to see the world moving in this direction. So just for reference, we're seeing a lot of companies now making the 30% commitment. So that is something that companies that we've seen are feeling is doable. Many of them are making the 30% commitment for before 2030, for maybe 2025 or 2026. So it is reasonable to expect that maybe we'll even go beyond 30% by 2030. All right, so 82% of you have participated in the poll. I'm going to share the results. And we have got 50% winning. So most of you think that 50% of a restaurant's menu should be plant-based by 2030. That seems really fair, right? That people who want to be plant-based should have just as many options as everybody else. I love that. I love this group. Okay, now I am going to, so Haley and Peter, I'm going to pin you because you're not sharing your screen. So just give me a moment to do that. I'm going to turn this over to our COO of Vegan Hospitality. Her name is Haley Cooper, and she is based in South Africa. She is going to be interviewing conservationist Peter Eastwood. Peter Eastwood has quite a reputation. He's done amazing work. He's the founder of Tanglewood Foundation, and he is the co-owner of the new Sashwa, which is South Africa's first plant-forward safari lodge. I'm going to put Sashwa's website in the chat as they are speaking so that you can check it out as well once this conference is over. So let me just get you pinned so everybody can see you. There is Haley and there is Peter. All right, Haley, I'm turning it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Meredith. And hi again to everyone. Happy World Vegan Day. So great to see so many of you joining us today. And a warm welcome to Peter, who I'm going to be interviewing now. So Peter, thank you very much for joining us, especially at the moment, as I know you must be very busy in the run-up to get your lodge ready for opening day. And yeah, you know, when I heard that you were opening around World Vegan Day, I was really excited. And I just wondered if that was planned or if it was just a coincidence based on your timing and your planning.
No, it was just a coincidence, but it was very fitting when you told me that it was World Vegan Day, because I wasn't aware that the 1st of November was. So yeah, I mean, being a dedicated vegan lodge, really, it's fantastic that we got so close. We were going to open the 1st, but we're now going to open about the 15th. So things have dragged out a bit longer, but we've been on a hell of a journey.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, that's always the way with these things. They always take longer than you expect them to. And I am very excited to be joining you on the 15th for your launching weekend. So I cannot wait for that. But yeah, let's start. Before we talk about the lodge, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your own personal involvement within the vegan movement.
So yeah, I became vegan nearly 10 years ago now, and my journey there was more on the environmental aspect of it. I was given the copy of Cowspiracy to watch, and what really drew me to that was that I'd been on and realizing that we're making a real mess of our planet, that the environmental aspect of the veganism, what really drew me to it. And so I also was very skeptical that there'd be any health benefits, which once I did become vegan, I had huge health benefits. So the actual animal cruelty and everything else came much later, as I evolved more into being in that space and not eating animals anymore. While you're eating animals, you can easily justify why you're eating them because they're there for food and blah blah. So yeah, and once I got in that journey, I realized that movies are a very big part of getting the story out. So I'd been involved in conservation and worked in movies in the conservation space, but then became involved in movies in the vegan space. So conservation is incredibly essential, but it's a hard thing to be involved in because everything's always so negative, whereas promoting veganism is such a positive thing because you're actually it's from one person's actions you can change the world. So for me it was a kind of the yin and yang for what I was doing. So I was still supporting conservation and trying to save the rhino, but on the other hand trying to save the planet through veganism. And then ultimately the two are linked because, you know, if we had less animals, we'd have less animal agriculture and there'd be more wild spaces for the wild animals. So the whole thing is all connected. So being involved in vegan movies was a big part, and then vegan advocacy. I ran quite a big business, and I was in the home brew space, which was very unvegan. So me being quite a leader in that space, using my my position to promote veganism was quite powerful as well, and it allowed people that were felt marginalized before to stand up a bit more. In our company, we were very meat conscious. We'd have barbecues or braais for celebrations, and then when we stopped having those, we found out that there were in a group of I think 45 in the office I was in Auckland, there was 10 people that were vegetarian or vegan who'd never said anything before. And then so coming out, it allowed a lot of other people to find their voice as well. So yeah, that's a lot of my advocacy was there.
Amazing. It's incredible how veganism can bring people together in that way. And I mean, I think I completely agree in terms of movies as well. My own personal journey, I went vegan after watching the movie What the Health, and I went vegan overnight from that. Can you perhaps share a couple of names of movies that you've been involved with?
Yeah, we were involved with What the Health in a fairly small way, but Tip and Keegan became friends of mine through that. And Michael Swarovski from I think it's Forks Over Knives. We got involved we sponsored Takeout, which is his, which unfortunately didn't hit the mainstream, but it was based around the Amazon in Brazil. And we got screening in Brazil and in America, but we didn't get a lot of screening worldwide. What other ones? There's so many movies that the Australian what's the one where about the animal cruelty?
Is that Dominion you're talking about?
Dominion, yes, yeah, Dominion, and a German one. I'm having a few blanks here. I should have written them all down.
No, sorry, it's just really interesting. I'm sure many of us have heard of these and watched these, and perhaps people can share in the chat if there was a particular movie that really touched them and actually, you know, made them decide to go vegan in the same way that I did. So yeah, just, you know, before we move on, I want to say really thank you for all of your hard work around that, because it's so important. Great. Well, let's talk about your new lodge. And I know we referred to it in the introduction as Sashwa, and the full name, Sashwa River of Stars. So perhaps you can tell us if there's a story behind the name.
Yeah, well, we were looking for a name, and we wanted to have a soft or almost feminine name to the retreat, because it's going to be a place of healing and a place of restoration. So we went through a great range of different different names, and then I woke up one night, and I thought Sashwa, and it just stuck in my head, and so I wrote it down beside my bed, and then I went back to sleep and didn't think any more about it. The next day we were talking about names again, and I'd completely forgotten the name that I came up with. I came up with a really good name last night, and so went back home, had a look on the side of my bed, and then I Googled it, and I don't know why it does, but it said it in Google. It said it meant harmony, and I thought Sashwa harmony. That's what we want to have for our wholeness retreat. So I took it back to the group, and the group all loved it, and we adopted it ever since. So it's important to have having been in business, to have short names and short email addresses and names that speak to people. I think Sashwa is a soft name. It's a name that you can feel comfortable with and familiar with, and it hasn't been used by anybody else. So I don't know why Google says it means harmony. I don't know if it's a language or anything else. I couldn't actually find anything more, but it just said harmony when I typed it in.
Amazing. Well, that sounds like really a very fitting name. And obviously, you know, with the river aspect, I've been to your property, and you're right there on the river, which is absolutely stunning. So I think it's a perfect name. And
Yeah, well,
you know, can you tell? Sorry.
So, well, the River of Stars too. I mean, we have brilliant starry nights, as you know, in the Lowveld in South Africa there, and with a perennial river in front that never runs dry. Although it got very close in the last few days, we're starting to see it flowing again. But it's a very, very special environment to have that combination of the river and the stars right in front of our lodge.
Wow, amazing. Well, hopefully you can all go and check out the website, and you'll get an idea of what Peter and I are talking about. And can you tell us a bit about your vision and what inspired you to open and to create Sashwa?
So I got involved in the property. I'm a New Zealander, and I've loved Africa for a long, long time. And I had a property very near to where this lodge currently is, and had the opportunity to buy in with another partner to the space. And one of the things I was thinking of at the time was it's 1,000 hectares, and it's 1,000 hectares that I can help protect. And one of the common goals of both myself and the other owner was to stop hunting on the land. It had been heavily hunted before we came there, and hunting along the river is like it's the worst possible place to be doing it, where animals are coming, they're a soft target, and we just wanted to protect those animals on the river. So that was the purpose for buying the land in the first place. Secondly was an education camp. I'm very passionate about education for conservation, so I can come back to that later, because I know you're going to ask me a bit more about that later. But the other thing was that the lodge itself that we're now developing was going to be the responsibility of the other partner. And when I saw the space, and he was going to turn it into another big five lodge for coming and seeing the animals, I said, this really speaks to me as a retreat space, not about being a big five destination, because having 1,000 hectares, we may or may not see the big five. We're open to Kruger, they will all come through, but we won't see them all in a day. But the space itself on the riverbank with this beautiful floodplain in front of it, it's just such a restful, beautiful environment. I said, you should really go for a retreat. And I said to him at the time, because he's Afrikaner, I said, perhaps, you should look for a LGBT friendly plant-based retreat. And he laughed at me. He said, what would I ever tell my friends? He just couldn't see any particular possible benefits in doing that. But right from the word go, I felt that was the sort of space that's missing in the Lowveld and something. So when the opportunity came for him he wanted to sell, we brought it. We weren't at first going to go and do that. We were going to find the right partner to come in and do that for us. And then the more we thought about it, the more we thought should do it ourselves and develop the space. And then we turned it into a social enterprise, which helps support our conservation work.
Amazing. Yeah. And I mean, obviously myself coming from the lodge industry, I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of other types of lodges. There's a lot out there, and they have very similar sort of concepts. And, for anyone that doesn't know Peter talking about the big five, it's, animals that people traditionally want to see in a safari lodge setting, like the lions, the elephants, the buffalo, etc. And sometimes we can become too focused within the lodge industry you know, sort of be looking for those animals and ticking them off a list, where you're not actually necessarily embracing the fact that you are in a wilderness area. So obviously, Peter, Sashwar is a very unique concept. Can you tell me a little bit about what really sets it apart, in particular around sustainability and wellness?
Yeah, so right from the word go, when we decided that we would go down this route, I felt that it had to be different and that it should address all the things that are missing in the industry. So for me, I'm a vegan, I go to a lot of lodges. It's very, very hit and miss that you'll find good vegan food in lodges. Some are amazing and some are absolutely abysmal. And so you're paying a lot of money to go to a place, and you really feel, and at least more than half of the lodges I've been to, that I'm a problem rather than a valued guest. So I wanted to provide a space that was more inclusive. And as I talked earlier about the inclusivity, South Africa is not always the most inclusive place, with its history, and its the way people feel now. So most of the lodges are very heavily on meat. You go and see a kudu and then go and eat it. It's like, for me as a vegan, I find that strange that we would want to eat what we're looking at. We're trying to save, a lot of people are trying to save animals and then they're eating them on the other hand. So for me, the whole idea of a lodge was to create a place that's inclusive and environmentally friendly, and plant-based diet goes completely with that. So we have a garden, so we have garden to table. We've brought in a top plant-based chef. So she's Chef Arabella is designing our menu. She's actually training our chefs at the moment. Both of our chefs aren't plant-based, but they're learning a huge amount and creating some incredible creations. And so the menu will be all plant-based, and a lot of it will be coming out of our garden into the lodge itself. So we reduce waste. We have nutrient-rich food. We're creating employment for the local people and training opportunities and all the things that go with doing that.
Amazing. Okay, and I would love to finish off on a question around your community-focused camp. I know you touched on education being really important to you earlier. Can you explain a little bit about this and how it also ties in with Sashwar and how they're both contributing positively to the local community and the ecosystem?
How long have we got, Hayley?
Well, we've got a little bit of time. I'm sure everyone's very interested.
So my background in Africa has all been around, well, for a long time. I don't know, 15, 20 years has been around conservation. So I ran a successful business, and with excess funds from that and from contacts from that, we raised funds for conservation. And we started off with the traditional, when the rhino poaching started, of trying to catch poachers and rewards for catching poachers and anti-poaching equipment and all the things to try and stop the poaching. But you come down the path and you realize that poaching is all about education, because the Black African population feel very alienated from the wildlife and the wild spaces, and they really haven't had a lot of access. So when this opportunity for this lodge came during COVID, and I was in New Zealand at the time, we were very, very keen to get involved in it because it had an education camp attached to it. So we were going to develop the education camp, and my business partner was going to do the lodge. So we brought into it, and and part of the funding from this comes from the family trust. So I'm not a co-owner, I'm not an owner at all, but the trust that owns the trust that I put money into after I sold my business owns the property and the lodge. So the purpose of that was, when I sold the business, I put some money aside for my family and myself, and others away for conservation. So we used some of that money from the conservation side to buy the land, because the land was going to stop hunting and also preserve 1,000 hectares of wild space. So that went to my plan that we should do something about global warming to try and help protect more wild spaces. And then when the lodge came available, so we've been funding Koru Camp, which we set up as a community camp in the greater Kruger, so we could bring people from the community who've never had access before and bring them in and have them enjoy a safari experience with game drives and chef cooking for them and staying in tents right inside the wilderness with lions at the doorstep and wild dog. We had a wild dog at camp the other day, lions lying outside at the waterhole. It's just phenomenal seeing the kids with elephants every day there. It's phenomenal seeing the kids' reaction to that. So then when my business partner last year decided to sell the lodge, sell the other part to me, was including the lodge, I felt that we should seriously look at taking some of the more of the money out of the trust that funds conservation and start a social enterprise. So Sashwa is not a normal company. It's a for-profit company, but it's a social enterprise, and that the money doesn't go back to the shareholders. The money goes forward to conservation. So rather than me leaving the money in the bank and relying on my money managers getting me 5, 6, 7% a year and then putting that into conservation, we're backing ourselves to be able to create a lot more profit than that from this lodge and use that profit into the community. Not only does the lodge put money back into the community, but it is a community enterprise in itself, because we employ community members. We are going to create internships, training opportunities, and the ability for people to, for young kids who've been through our Koru camp, which is a children's education camp, to then come and look at our lodge and different jobs that they may like to have going forward. So we're able to use it in all sorts of ways to help the community. So it's not just about sending profits back into the Koru camp and to other initiatives, but it's a pathway for people to be able to get into the industry. My big goal would be that we would train someone from that came through Koru Camp, that maybe Wild Shots Outreach, who is a photography NGO that teaches conservation through photography and provides bursaries, that they put someone like we just have now at Camp Nuntandu and through a culinary program. She comes to us and learns how to make amazing plant-based cooking, plant-based meals. And then she gets poached by one of the big lodges, perhaps your one, Hayley, that might want to have a plant-based chef, and that they'll go on and take a head chef position in one of those and leave space for us to train somebody else. So I put your lodge in because one of our chefs came from your lodge. Be nice to give back. But it's really important for a lot of these young kids. They do all the training, but it's still a huge gap between their training and what they can do to get into a top restaurant or top lodge or restaurant or anywhere else. So yeah, the Sashwa, the vision of Sashwa grew into this wonderful social enterprise that provides space for guests to come and restore so Sashwa itself is like everything that a mainstream lodge isn't. We want people to have time. We want them to have space. You don't have to go out on game drives if you don't want to. You can see all the game from the lodge. The game will come to you. We have meditation spaces. We have star bars. We have massage tables. We have beautiful places in your rooms, separate little areas all over the lodge. There's 6 hectares inside the fence that you can walk around and experience the beautiful African birds and trees. And yeah, we've just got this incredible space that people don't have to leave to experience the African bush. So, and we're also having our plant-based food. The whole idea is enough food and amazingly in the evening plated foods, during the day maybe not always plated, but high quality dining, but not huge amounts of food, not being overfed. And a lot of people, when they go on safari, they come back at the end of it and they put on 4 or 5 kilos because they're sedentary, they've been overfed, overwatered, and everything's just too much of a excess. So we're not going to be excess, we're going to be enough. So that
Amazing. Yeah, no, it really does. And it, I think the importance of the link between conservation and community, it shouldn't be underestimated. People often forget that if the community are not benefiting, then of course they're not going to want to conserve the land. And yeah, I'm sure that many of us here are now very excited for a safari in 2025. So make sure you check out Sashwa's website, and I'll also put Coral Camp's website in the chat as well now, just for your interest. Thank you, Peter. Really appreciate your time today, and best of luck with the final planning stages for the opening. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks there.
Yeah, I can't wait to show you, because you've been seeing us on our journey and helping us with our recruitment. But you came and saw the lodge, I think, early on before we'd done very much to it. So you'll appreciate
still a
that
bit of a building site back then. So really excited to see the final product.
Yeah, and being sustainable too. We didn't want to pull everything down and start again, so it made it more complicated to reuse what's there. But it's actually made it an incredibly unique lodge. That every room is different and every space is different and everything's unique, rather than the typical cookie cutter that every room's the same.
Fantastic, brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Peter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to hand back over to Meredith.
Thank you, Haley and Peter. I'm just going to remove the pins so that you can see everybody again. Wow, I think something that stands out from Peter's journey that I want everyone to realize. Peter, you mentioned that you went vegan 10 years ago, correct? Am I correct? It was about 10 years ago. And you, of course, made such a difference in conservation even before then. But I want to emphasize it's never too late to make a change, and it's never too late to make a difference. The enormous impact that Peter has had on this movement, you've heard, in the last 10 years. So I want everyone to consider that. I know we have a mixture of vegans and non-vegans here, and we can all work on this, whether we're vegan or not, but it's never too late to change your mind. And I love that part of Peter's story. And I love all the connections between animal conservation, of course, and not eating animals. So I am excited to now introduce Sophie Downey, who is our in-house market research specialist at Vegan Hospitality, and she is the founder of La Pro Vegan, a vegan consultancy in Bordeaux, France. Sophie's going to provide the insights we promised around food trends and predictions. So Sophie, you are welcome to share your screen.
Hi, everyone. Just gonna put my screen up for you. Okay. So good morning, afternoon to everyone, depending on where you are. So my name is Sophie Downey, and so today we'll be talking about the future of food and the trends and what's currently taking up space and exciting new products and things that are happening for our expected future menus. There's a lot to say, so I'm just going to go straight ahead, and I hope you enjoy. So global dining has just been evolving a lot over the past decade, and this is fueled by a lot of things, especially we've seen in the previous presentations. But the main things are consumer preferences, technological innovation, and a huge focus on sustainability. So health-conscious diners are more than ever seeking plant-based, transparent options when they're dining out, and more than ever want to really understand what's going into their food. And so this all ties in with customers making more and more sustainable choices because they're aware of the impact that their food choices are going to have on the environment, and they're choosing to engage with businesses and what is on their plate according to that. And also as food tech evolves, especially when it comes to lab-grown meats or innovations, creative new ways that pioneers are combining plant proteins for new products, and also innovative ways in which food waste is now being repurposed or imagined as new food products. And this is really transforming how everyone is seeing their food and also the land that is used to make the food that we consume every day. So I want to introduce this term, future-proofing. So just for context, we've all heard, I think, of the term greenwashing. So basically businesses and brands using buzzwords and clever marketing to make people believe that they have sustainability as one of their core values, but with actually no real commitment in their values or in their processes to sustainability. And so, for example, this is something that will soon be a thing of the past, or in any case won't be of any use, because more and more laws and policies are coming into effect to regulate greenwashing. And an example of this is the European Green Deal, which is basically a group of policies that have been launched in the European Union that came into effect at the end of 2023. And basically this combination of policies is aimed at making Europe the first climate neutral continent, and they're aiming to do that by 2050. So it's quite ambitious. And all member states will be required to implement these rules into their national laws by December 2025. So that's next year. And so this regulation is basically going to come and have a really important place in fostering transparency and accountability in environmental marketing. So this means that businesses are going to have a really genuine shift towards sustainable practices, and going to have to provide verifiable evidence to support any environmental claims that they make, which is why it's really important for all businesses, especially ones in the food industry, whether it be hotels, restaurants, or even brands that are producing food worldwide, to really invest in sustainable, robust, sustainable practices so that they can avoid penalties when these guidelines come into space, and also to maintain customer trust. And so that's bringing us to future-proofing, which is a term I don't know if any of you have heard of, but it originates in tech. So when it comes to tech building, it's a term that means that you design software so that it will still be able to be used in the future, even as technology evolves. And so what happens when we apply this term to the hospitality industry, when you want to future-proof your business, it means that you need to be investing in practices that will continue to be useful and relevant in the future. And obviously, a part of investing well is discerning fads from real societal change when you're choosing what to invest in. And so now more than ever is a really important time to take a big look at the practices that are happening in business and in restaurants and hotels, and decide which practices are going to bring you forward into the future and make your business future-proof. So in two main themes that are standing out in trends and moving forward in terms of food, plant-based innovation and a more back to basics approach. So these things aren't necessarily in a position. They're just two branches of the direction we're going in with sustainable food. And so on the one hand, we've got plant-based innovation, which is more and more brands that are creating plant-based branches of popular animal products and innovating in new ways and making more and more vegan products or plant-based products that resemble animal-based products. And then on the one hand, we have this more going back to basics, more whole foods, simple recipes, short circuit sourcing of produce and ingredients, bring back forgotten vegetables and fruits, pulses and legumes that have been kind of put to the side over the last 50 years with monoculture. And so this initiative is really bringing things back to the roots of cooking and the more of the diversity that we used to have in our food system. So I wanted to just showcase a couple of really exciting products that I came across during my research, which are really, really innovative. We were talking about cheese earlier on a lot, and I came across this company in Spain called Vaca, which is just amazing. It's basically combining food waste reduction thinking with plant-based innovation. So they've created a unique fermentation process that they have patented to make these plant-based cheeses. And they are using melon seeds and olive oil as the main ingredients for their plant-based cheeses. And this has never been done before. This is a really innovative new way to make cheese. And it's also really interesting because Spain is one of the largest producers of melons in the world. And this is an ingredient that to my knowledge, has never been used in any other way. And so this part of the melon that has been going in the bin is now being used to make delicious plant-based cheese. So I'm really excited to be able to try this at some point. I'm not sure it's available in France yet, but fingers crossed it will be soon. And interestingly enough as well, we were talking about seafood. We've all had our share of plant-based burgers. I think now we know that there is a lot on offer in the market. But when it comes to seafood alternatives, up until now, the focus has been mainly more on texture and aspect, but nutritionally hasn't been very interesting. A lot of the seafood alternatives are basically water and tapioca, which aren't very nutritious. They're pretty to look at, but not very nutritious. And so that's being addressed by a couple of companies. Here on the slide, we can see these plant-based shrimp, and they've been introduced by Catch Free, which is a company that's developing really nutrient-dense plant-based products, seafood, and in this case, the shrimp. I also found it really interesting because France is quite behind on a lot of vegan and plant-based alternatives, but in this case, it's actually a French seafood brand, which is called Petit Navire, that has partnered with a microalgae startup called Almaga Foods, and they've actually launched a whole range of tuna fish plant-based alternatives with lots of different flavors. And they have a really interesting nutritious profile. So they're made from a combination of wheat and soy combined with algae oil and sea lettuce. And so they're really a rich form of protein and omega-3. And this is something that just hasn't been available in terms of seafood plant-based alternatives before. So it's really interesting that we're moving forward with the aspects of things looking delicious and also being nutritiously interesting. This photo in the middle as well, it's interesting as well. It's also a French startup that has started making cured vegetables. So in France and a lot of Europe, cured meats and like cured sausage is a very big part of like food culture. And so this startup has started using the same processes and using salting techniques, but they've applied it to vegetables such as carrots and beetroots. And visually and texturally, they're really on the same level as the animal-based alternatives. So it's really exciting to see the new ways in which plants are being used in different ways to imitate, but also in a whole foods way, animal-based products. And so when we move to the second main trend, which is the back to basics, so local, seasonal, customers being more and more interested in where their food is coming from, being able to recognize their food, know that it's coming from a local source, and also have real diversity in the plant-based, whole foods, plant-based options that they're eating. I came across this incredible statistic about the the amount of plant-based food that we eat compared to what's available to us. So when you look at 30,000 different types of edible plants and we're only consuming 12 of those, it's just mind-blowing to think of the richness and diversity of plant-based options and food that is available to us on this planet. And we're only consuming a tiny, tiny part of everything that's available to us. And so with this trend, I think the what is going to happen and what is happening already is people are really moving back to consuming in a more seasonal, local way and rediscovering old vegetables, old legumes, old pulses, and really starting to diversify what they're eating from plant-based source. Another interesting fact I found whilst doing my research, I think everyone here eats bananas on a regular basis. I discovered that there are actually 1,000 different types of bananas that exist, but the world market currently focuses on one. That's this, everyone is eating the same type of banana all across the world when there are 1,000 different varieties available to us. And this is really quite boring in a sense, and it's also quite dangerous because with these monocultures, what happens is if crops are affected, then it will shut off our food supply. So it's really important to start really diversifying our food sources and looking at all the different plant-based whole food alternatives that are available to us. And this is something that's going to be really important for businesses and restaurants that are moving forward in their menus, in the options that they're showcasing to their customers, as transparency in sourcing is really becoming a key expectation of customers and consumers, as individuals are wanting to not only eat better, eat local and eat seasonal, but they're also wanting to, we were talking about community earlier on, people want to know that their money is going towards supporting local producers and that they're also contributing with what they're eating to reducing the environmental impact of the food they're consuming. And so this won't really come as a surprise, but one of the main things that is driving these changes on a global dining platform is really customer expectations. More and more people are just really becoming more aware of the environmental impact of what they're eating, the impact on their health. And so more than ever, consumers are really seeking to interact with brands, with businesses that reflect their values and who are prioritizing authenticity. And this is something, this is on the slide, so this is a study from 2023. But I also found studies that were already saying this 5 to 7 years ago. So at this point, I think we can really see that we're not operating on a trend. This is something that's been in the making for the last 10 years. And we're only going, the statistics are only getting higher and higher. And it's really not just a passing phase. This is something that's really important because it's going to fundamentally change how businesses operate and how they interact with their customers and their guests. And all the predictions indicate that demand for plant-based options are just going to keep soaring. And this is all driven by customers' health-conscious environmental awareness. And so it's really going to become non-negotiable to have a variety of plant-based options available to customers, because they want to know what they're eating and they also want to know how it was made and how it's impacting the planet. And communicating clearly about what is in the food and where it's coming from is something that will foster a strong customer loyalty, because as competition and evolves and the market evolves, having a loyal customer base is something that is really priceless and very valuable. And I mean, I put on the slide here, this is a little personal prediction. We have QR codes at the moment that are becoming more and more common for menus and just drink menus and all the different types of menus. I fully predict that at some point there will be QR codes available so that customers can click on, like, meet our producers, watch a short video to see where our vegetables are grown. And really connect with the community, maybe interviews available of the people who are actually growing their food. And also, as well as obviously detailing the full allergens of the dishes and options that are available in restaurants. So here's just a few numbers amongst many, many that exist out there. So interestingly, 55% of consumers are actually willing to pay more for plant-based options at restaurants and hotels, with health, sustainability, and ethical concerns being at the forefront. So people do see the value in these options, and they are willing to pay more to have these available to them because they see the value in it and will appreciate options that have been thoughtfully made out and with attention to detail and taking into account all these factors. And so obviously, because they know that this has an impact, we know that it really is a priority for customers. And there is just an increasing demand all over for plant-based options, as we can see from the report from Technomic, Mike. So 58% of food service operators report increased demand for plant-based options on their menus, restaurants, hotels, and event catering. And the global plant-based food market is growing exponentially, and it's going to have an almost 20% rise annual growth rate and for the next coming years up until 2030. So all that being said, all the things that I've gone into, all the statistics that are what everything's been saying over the last decade up until this year, and the predictions for the future, I think, even though it contradicts the title of my presentation, I think we can say that plant-based food and the direction we're going in as a food system, it's not a trend. We're really witnessing a fundamental shift in the future of food. So there really is a growing demand for sustainable, nutritious, ethically sourced meals, and it really reflects a profound change in consumer values and expectations. And so any business, restaurant, hotel that wants to cater to the evolving palette of the global diner must embrace plant-based options. And it also means we're playing a crucial role in preserving our planet for future generations, because the evidence really is compelling. Plant-based diets are not just healthier for individuals, but they're also healthier for our planet. And so it's important as we move forward to recognize the immense potential that we have with plant-based cuisine to lead us towards a more sustainable and responsible food system. And we can really make a difference and change the dining landscape and make it one that really nourishes people and the planet. And I want to thank you for listening and joining me on this little journey into the future of food. And let me know if you have any questions, either in the chat, or you can send me an email or a message on Instagram, and I'd be happy to respond. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophie. That was very inspiring. I think we are all very excited about the future of our food system, and I hope that it goes the way that you're predicting. So we are going to, you're welcome to turn off your screen share, because our next presentation is actually an interview. And I feel so lucky to be able to interview Frances Gonzalez, who is here today. She is the founder of Vegan Wines. So we are switching from all this food talk to beverage talk. She's also the founder of Veg Fest Puerto Rico. And she's also an eco-hostess offering eco-friendly events and food and drink gatherings, farm tours, vacation rentals, wedding venues, and sustainable agriculture workshops at her farm event venue in Hudson Valley, New York. So I'm going to pin Frances to the screen. Let me find you on the list so I can pin you. Search bar. There we go. Okay, she should be up on your screen now. All right, so let's take a deep dive into the world of vegan wines and get started with the interview. Hi, Frances. How are you?
I'm doing great, Meredith. How are you? It's great so far, everything.
Thank you. It's really good to see you. I'm super excited to introduce what you have to share to our audience. It's very unique. I think a lot of people are not aware of everything related to veganism and wines and veganism and drinks in general. So let's get started with just getting a bit of your background. What inspired you to start Vegan Wines, and how has your journey in the wine industry evolved since then?
Well, my inspiration for vegan wines started with a single surprising experience during a visit to a winery. The winemaker casually mentioned that they use egg whites in the fining process. And as a vegan, this was a wake-up call. Wine, something that seems so naturally plant-based, isn't vegan. So that sparked a journey for me. I wanted to create a wine brand that people could trust to be 100% vegan from the soil to the glass, and offer transparency about, every step of the process. As I researched further, I discovered hidden animal products in the wine productions, from animal manure, fish fertilizers used in the vineyards, to practices involving bull horns filled with manure for soil enrichment. I wanted vegan wines to be different, to represent purity and respect for nature. I began partnering with vineyards that aligned with this commitment, using only plant-based compost and naturally vineyard trimmings as green manure. Today, Vegan Wines isn't about just offering vegan wine, it's about fostering a connection to wines that are ethically produced, pure, and in harmony with nature.
Wow. So I'm sure a lot of what you just said shocked some people, because many people don't realize that wine isn't always vegan. And clearly you shared that you were vegan at the time and didn't know about the wines. And I also had similar experience going vegan, but the wine was the last thing that I learned about. So could you explain to us what makes a wine not vegan? I know you gave some examples, but what exactly makes wine not vegan? And then what goes into producing a vegan wine?
Okay, yeah, so this is one of the most surprising facts to people, that not all wine is vegan. Traditionally, winemaking includes various animal products at multiple stages, starting from the vineyard. Many vineyards use animal manure, fish fertilizers, even bull horns filled with manure to add the nutrients to the soil. These practices conflict with vegan principles, as they rely on animal materials. In the cellar, the winemaker often uses animal-based fining agents like egg whites, gelatin, fish bladder, and this is to clarify the wine. Vegan winemaking avoids these products at every stage. For instance, vegan wines partners with vineyards that use green manure, which means plant-based compost from vineyard trimmings and prunings that are cycled back into the soil. We think of it as from nature back to nature, ensuring that no animal products ever touch the soil or wine itself. This approach lets each wine develop as naturally and purely as possible, meeting the high standards that today's ethical consumers expect.
So I think the next question is essentially, why should restaurateurs, hoteliers care about this? Of course, the vegans care about this, but why should the people who are selling the wine to consumers, why should they source vegan wines? And if they are sold on this and they do want to source vegan wines, how do they even get started with that? Where do they go about sourcing these wines?
Yes, and sourcing vegan wines, of course, it's about aligning with the values that customers hold today. We see that more customers nowadays want transparency. Vegan wine offers a way to connect with the growing audience for eco-conscious diners who want to make ethical choices. By offering vegan wines, restaurants and hotels can show that they care about sustainability and transparency, values that resonate strongly with the modern consumers, especially in fine dining. To source vegan wines, I recommend partnering with a distributor or company specializing in them who can verify that the wines are authentically vegan from the soil up. At Vegan Wines, we go beyond the label to ensure that every bottle is free from animal products every part of the way. We research and we verify. So we go to every vineyard to make sure that it's within our guidelines and from the soil every step of the way. So both from the soil to cellar, by working with vegan wines, wine producers, you're able to offer guests a product that aligns with their values, contributing something fresh, meaningful, inspiring to their menu. And vegan wines, since they're so natural, you get to taste the varietal of the grape, what the wine should taste like. And in fine dining, this is very important. Well, in all restaurants is very important to taste. You want to taste the actual character of the wine, not the products that are added to them.
Yeah, it's clear to see how passionate you are about this and how knowledgeable you are about this. So obviously you're the best resource we can recommend that anyone reach out to. And I do see some comments in the chat about being shocked. I think this is always going to be new information for some people who just haven't come across this, because it's not even something that you would think to look into. I mean, as a vegan, we find these animal products hidden everywhere. It's just usually someone finds out because like they have an experience like you did. So, all right. So once a restaurant or hotel sources vegan wines, what else should they be doing? So they've done the hard work of, they've got them into their restaurant. Now what? Do they need to list it a certain way on their menu? And what about communicating the information to the customers or even communicating it to the staff? How do they go about doing that? What should they focus on?
Well, yes, transparency is very essential. So clearly labeling wines as vegan on the menu, including a brief note of what makes them vegan, I think is also a good step from the, saying a lot of people sometimes have allergies. We have a lot of customers that are not vegan, but they're allergic to fish products. So they order our wines. So that way, if they put this like, no, the animal products are not in the wine, this is very important to them, to the people that it enhances their dining experience, and they don't have to worry about certain things, and they can trust that that restaurant's going to have the wine that they can drink. So educate your staff on these points as well. It's very important. When they understand that vegan wines goes just beyond defining agents to include the practices like no animal manure, no fish fertilizers, no animal derived soil treatments, they will be able to convey that message with confidence, creating a memorable experience for their customers. The knowledge elevates the fine dining experience and shows that fine dining today means knowing the organs and the ethics of what we serve. It also helps establish your restaurant as one of those forward thinking, environmentally conscious and dedicated to delivering a meaningful dining experience that resonates with the guest values.
Thank you for bringing up people with allergies, because we know that when people are ordering vegan food or vegan drinks, it's not just the vegans. And I know Tony's presentation earlier shared that it's people who are seeking plant-based options, but it's not always because they are completely vegan and living a vegan lifestyle. There's so many other customers that need this and need this transparency, and it even extends to wines. So what future trends do you see in the vegan wine industry, and how is vegan wines poised to evolve in the coming years?
Well, the future of vegan wine is moving towards deeper, eco conscious practices. we are seeing increased demand for wines that are both vegan and produced with the least environmental impact. Trends like biocyclic vegan certification, which ensures that the entire wine production process is free from animal products, they're gaining momentum. They're not just about certifications on wines, they're about certifications on all farming. So this goes beyond wine, because wine is food and food is wine. As the practices grow, vegan wine will become an even more compelling choice for those seeking products that respect both ethical and environmental values. So at Vegan Wines, we are embracing these changes. We're expanding partnerships with vineyards that is their main point, just plant-based management, lower sulfites, and minimal intervention. That means our wines aren't just vegan, they also crafted in a way that honors the earth, making them ideal for the environmental conscious customers. Our mission is to lead educating the hospitality industry and consumers about why these practices matter, ensuring vegan wines becomes a trusted part of the dining experience, both for now and the future.
Wow. Thank you so much, Frances, for all of that information. And I know there's probably a lot of people Googling now to look up all the more information they can find about vegan wines now that you've created that shock for everybody. So I really appreciate all the work you've done in the industry. I know you are a pioneer and a leader in this, and at times that can be difficult because you are really putting yourself out there in a way that not everybody's ready for. So I just want to commend you and thank you for all your work in leading this initiative.
Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me share our story and mission with you all today. You know, Vegan Wines is more than just a label, it's a commitment to value. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share.
All right, I'm going to remove the pin from Frances as we transition to our next speaker. And thank you all who have stayed throughout this whole conference. Again, we know it's a lot of time to stare at your computer screen, but we have 2 more outstanding presentations before we end for today. And we really appreciate you being here. So I'm going to move right into our next presenter because we are right on time. And I see she's getting her screen share set up. So that's fantastic. So I'm going to now introduce Jennifer Elfenbein, who is speaking about vegan menu engineering in higher education, strategies for integrating plant-based menu design into hospitality university curriculums. And she is going to talk about a very practical project that she just worked on with her students, and you will see the results. They are very inspiring, so I cannot wait for you to see this presentation. Jennifer, let me pin your face so people can see you too. Oops, you know what? Did I just pin you and then we can't see your screen anymore? Uh-oh. Can people, well, let me remove the pin then. Or maybe that was just on my screen that happened. Can everybody see Jennifer's screen or no? Or you just see her face?
We got some nods.
You can see the screen? Yeah, okay, great. There we go. Okay, and if what happened to me happened to you, it's because the view is set differently. So if you click on the right corner of your screen, it says view, and you want to click side by side speaker, and then you can see her face and you can see the screen. All right, go ahead, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. I am really grateful for this opportunity to share an experiential learning project that I created and facilitated earlier this fall with all of you today. So I I serve as the Hospitality Management Chair at Grand Canyon University, which is a private Christian university located in the heart of Phoenix, Arizona. We have 25,000 ground students and another 85,000 online. Our program is a 4-year degree, a Bachelor of Science in Hospitality Management. And I teach and develop the curriculum for the Food and Beverage Service Operations and Management class. I have been teaching in higher ed for about 14 years now. And before that, I worked for Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts. When I was earning my PhD, I attended the Institute for Humane Education, and I learned about the intersectionality of human rights, animal protection, and environmental preservation. And I am really committed to bringing what I have learned into the classroom, both through course development as well as my teaching. So I designed the curriculum for the food and beverage service operations and management class. This year, I decided to base our menu redesign project on our 2 full-service restaurants that are at the university. As a vegan, I have attempted to dine at both restaurants and found that really the menu options are very meat-based and have a lot of fried foods. There's no cafeteria on our campus, so students are really limited to eating at those 2 full-service restaurants. The quick service restaurants like Chick-fil-A and Panda Express, or they go off campus to eat. So the students were tasked with redesigning one of the 2 universities' full-service restaurant menus to feature more healthy and sustainable foods, while also making dietary preferences and restrictions clear to the guests. I introduced students to an initiative called the Menus for Change, Principles of Healthy, Sustainable Menus, to use as a framework for redesigning their menus. One of the restaurants is called Havoc House, and it's located inside of our basketball arena. It opened last fall, and it's named after our crazy student fans, the Havocs, who attend every home basketball game. It's a sports bar concept without the bar because we are a dry university campus. And as you can see, the entrees, there are 3 different burgers with both single and double patty options. And the rest of the main entrees are beef, pork, chicken, and fish, with the lone exception of a grilled cheese sandwich, which is the only vegetarian option. The menu, which you don't see, the full menu, also features pizza, pasta, and salads. So when I go, the only vegan menu items are pasta with marinara, the house salad, fries, and a fruit cup. The other restaurant is called Canyon 49. It was also previously a sports bar concept until Havoc House opened, and then it was rebranded as a Mexican restaurant. So it offers traditional Mexican fare. Currently, the only vegan menu items are beans, rice, chips, and salsa, and there's a street taco menu item with a vegetable option. Everything else on the menu is made with cheese, beef, chicken, or fish, and there are no plant-based cheeses or sauces offered. And notice that on both menus, there were no symbols or anything for dietary restrictions, preferences, or allergens. So now onto the framework for making these menus healthier and more sustainable. About a decade ago, the Culinary Institute of America and the Department of Nutrition at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, they collaborated on a program to integrate optimal nutrition and public health, environmental stewardship, restoration, and social responsibility concerns into the food service sector. There are 24 menus of change principles, which provide chefs and food service leaders with menu and recipe guidance related to health and sustainability, along with business strategies that integrate environmental and nutrition science initiatives. So as a class, we discuss the principles and the students use them to design their menus. So I'm just going to share a few that the students incorporated. So the first one being leverage globally inspired plant-forward culinary strategies. Focus on whole, minimally processed foods. Move legumes and nuts to the center of the plate. Buy fresh and seasonal, local and global. Serve red meat less often. Think produce first. Be transparent about sourcing and preparation. And reduce portions, emphasizing calorie quality over quantity. So during one of our classes, I invited a good friend of mine, David Warr. He is the owner of a local Phoenix restaurant, the Giving Tree Cafe. And he spoke to the students about his passion for healthy food and how he operates his business. David opened another vegan restaurant called the Chocolate Tree Organic Oasis in Sedona, Arizona, which is now owned and operated by his daughter. The Giving Tree Cafe has a scratch kitchen. They make all of their nut milks every day. They grind their own tahini and nut butters, and they can serve the most restrictive diets. David himself has been eating vegan, organic, non-GMO, and seed oil-free for nearly decades. And as someone who has studied cooking and nutrition for years, David didn't hold anything back when he was telling the students about how the processed food industry has introduced thousands of chemicals into the food supply that he believes damages our environment and our physical health. I was a bit fearful that the students would kind of feel discouraged by his talk, but after a debrief the next class, I realized that their cognitive dissonance was actually a really powerful learning experience for them. And it was just the inspiration that they needed to begin their project. I've been working with Gen Z as an educator for many years, and I truly believe that this generation is very concerned about eating healthier and being more responsible consumers. But unfortunately, they just don't have the resources on university campuses to live more sustainably. So as you will see in a sample of their thank you notes, David's message was really well received. So I require my students to write thank you notes to all of our guest speakers as a means of reflecting on what they learned, and also they earn participation for the class. So one student wrote, "Thank you for coming into class today and sharing some of your experiences with us. You shared multiple ways to have a sustainable restaurant and do it well. Sustainability is something that has come to light in my life since starting college. I realize the importance of it, and you highlighted all of those reasons. Thank you for mentioning our project and giving tips and information on topics and principles we should consider. I also wanted to mention how impressive it is that you've been eating sustainable, quality, and healthy food for 50 plus years, then with your daughter to share that with so many other people." Another student wrote, "Thank you for your very informative discussion on what sustainable eating is and what healthy restaurants should be. It was very interesting to hear the differences between what American society feels is healthy or sustainable when they can be the most harmful things we consume. I personally try to grow some of my own vegetables in the college campus garden to have organic produce, but it's difficult as a college student with limited time and space. Finding healthy options in our society can be so difficult, and I really appreciate that you are modeling a way for sustainable restaurants. I look forward to eating at your restaurant in the future and tasting the difference. Your discussion inspires me to look into the food that I eat and to find convenient, cost-effective ways to eat well. Thank you." And the last student wrote, "Thank you so much for coming in and speaking to our class. I really liked your point about how growing and consuming plants is much better for the environment than raising and eating animal products. I also want to thank you for telling me about the Dirty Dozen because I had never heard about that. Something else that I really liked that you talked about was seed oils, and I am trying to phase them out of my diet. So I really liked how you mentioned and explained how bad they are. Thank you again." Thank you for letting me share my students. I get really inspired by what they learn. I also shared a video in class that Meredith created about how to make menus more profitable by featuring more plant-based options. I feel it's really good for the students to hear multiple perspectives about a topic rather than just hear my perspective. So let's look at what the students came up with. For the Havoc House, this student removed many of the meat-based options in favor of a plant-based burger, a bean and grain bowl, and barbecue cauliflower tacos. Vegan mozzarella cheese is featured on one of the pizzas. And for the appetizers, instead of fries, they have baked sweet potato fries, and they also added an island tofu wrap in the appetizers. There's 2 meat-based items were left on the menu, the meat lovers pizza and the bolognese pasta with grass-fed beef. I also appreciated how they labeled the vegan, vegetarian, dairy-free, and gluten-free items with letters, and then you will see a key at the bottom. There were a few errors. They used VG instead of VEG in some cases, and some of the menu items to me appeared to be veg-based, in terms of the ingredients, but they weren't labeled as which could be confusing. This menu for Canyon 49 kept only one meat-based item, the grass-fed beef tacos and the sustainable fish of the day. The rest of the items are all plant-based, with a portobello mushroom burger, cauliflower street tacos. Cauliflower was very popular with the students, and quinoa stuffed bell peppers. And notice at the bottom that chicken or steak can be added at an extra charge. And they also designated items as vegan, gluten-free, with letters. And I truly appreciated the use of warm colors, which has been shown to increase the appetite. I shared just a few items from this Canyon 49 menu. I didn't talk about jackfruit, but this student replaced pork tacos and burrito with jackfruit fajitas, which was really fun to see. It would have been a plus if the student had swapped the cheese with plant-based cheese and dairy-free sour cream to make both dishes vegan. She used a mixture of symbols and letters to designate vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free. And although you can't see it, but she did have a key at the bottom of the menu. And this was my favorite menu. I mean, this student went above and beyond to not only create like more of a healthy menu, but also a seasonal menu for Havoc House. So she featured root vegetables in the winter and spring pea hummus in the spring. Notice that the dietary symbols for vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free, the symbols, especially like the different colored leaves for vegan versus vegetarian, can be difficult to distinguish. So I noticed that the menus that featured letters were actually much more easier to understand. And then her summer menu features tomatoes and zucchini along with a blueberry dessert. And the fall all menu items feature squash like pumpkin and butternut, and she even had a butternut squash pizza. My only suggestion was to incorporate more plant-based cheeses and sauces or offer them as alternatives to the dairy. So overall, I was really impressed with the student menus. Most of their vegan options were also minimally processed. I personally think that providing multiple learning modalities and different perspectives, such as the menus for change principles, having a guest speaker and Meredith's video gave the students a lot of different ideas that they could then synthesize into their own vision for the menu redesign project. What's really cool is that I have met with the GM of Havoc House and Canyon 49, and he was really impressed with what the students came up with and has agreed to add many of the student menu items and ideas to the menus for our spring semester. I think that the students were more engaged in this project than any other assignment because they felt that they could make a difference in the food that the students on campus have access to. The students told me that they're really looking forward to eating healthier and more sustainable menu items at the restaurants. I'm happy that I'm going to continue to facilitate this project every semester, and maybe one day we can promote a Meatless Monday menu or even operate a fully plant-based restaurant on campus with all of these amazing student-inspired ideas. Thank you so much, Meredith, for giving me the opportunity to share this with our audience.
Jennifer, this conclusion makes me so happy. You are not only teaching, but you are doing the work to make the change. And what a great opportunity for these restaurants to have these built-in customers. They are actually taking it's not just student feedback. I mean, for them, it's customer feedback and actually implementing that. Are you going to be able to track this in any way to see how it goes as far as from the restaurant perspective, if people are ordering the food that they integrate into the menu?
Yes, actually, I have access to the point of sale system, so I can start tracking in the spring to see. We'll probably also incorporate menu engineering so they can look at the popularity and the profitability of these menu items. So it's exciting.
That is so exciting. I think this is something that really can and should be modeled across universities. So I'm really excited for you and what you've worked on. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, now I'm going to do one last poll before I switch to our final speaker. So let's see, and Haley, if you want to share your screen while I'm doing the poll, that is great. I see she's already doing that. You're quick. Okay, you know what, let's do two polls. How prepared is the industry? So how prepared do you feel the hospitality industry is to meet plant-based dining demands? So we're talking about currently. How prepared is the industry right now in meeting plant-based dining demands? All right. Is it working? Oh, tried clicking launch, but that did not work. It might be, Haley, it might be because your screen is shared. Can you guys see the poll or no? You can see it? No. Can't see it? Okay, sorry,
Let me
Haley.
stop sharing quickly.
Okay. Hold on. Well, let me try again. Can you guys see the poll? No, it's not letting me launch it. Okay, well, maybe we're not going to do a poll. It's not working. And I don't want to take any more of our time up trying to figure out Zoom. So no big deal. Haley, feel free to share your screen again. All right, so I want to introduce Haley Cooper, who is our COO of Vegan Hospitality. She's also the founder of Wild Dreams Hospitality in South Africa. And Haley's going to be talking about why certifications will define the future of hospitality. And I want to share that Haley came up with this topic months ago when we were preparing for this conference. And as I shared earlier, I just got back from a major sustainable hospitality conference, as well as one of the largest hospitality conferences in North America, the American Hotel and Lodging Association conference. And this topic was one of the key topics at their conference as well. It was all about the certifications, specifically sustainability certifications. So I really want you all to pay attention, especially if you are operating a hotel, a lodge, a resort, because this is really the future of hospitality and tourism. And not only for hotels, but eventually there will be restaurant certifications too. I saw a presentation from the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, and they are now working on their restaurant criteria for the indicators. So it truly is the future. And with that, I will turn it over to Haley to share with us everything that she has learned.
Thank you so much, Meredith, and thank you all for still being here, because I am the last presenter for today. And
Haley, I just
as
want to
Meredith,
say, I think you have to put it on a different screen though, because I think I'm seeing your view a bit.
okay, hold on, stand by.
It might just be my Zoom again, but just in case. Try it one more time.
I'll just start from the beginning with it rather.
Yeah, that looks fine. Or yeah, there you go. Is that okay for you?
No, I can't see my.
You can do the advanced screen sharing. That's the easiest way.
Sorry. Okay. Is that all good?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so thank you, Meredith. So my presentation is on why certifications will define the future of the hospitality and tourism industry. This is a topic that I see all the time, people talking about various certifications, and it's a really, really important thing that we should discuss today with the trend, with our conference being about trends and predictions within the industry. And I want to start by sharing just some of the main benefits of having a certification if you have a hospitality or tourism business. The first one being the fact that certifications can help to improve your processes, especially around sustainability practices, which will ensure that you have streamlined operations. They can also help you align your sustainability values and vision with the actions that you are taking, and that will therefore attract customers that have the same values. And we all know how important it is to have the trust of our customers. And once they have proof that you are adhering to industry standards, it will enhance your business reputation. This is especially true when certifications are awarded by third-party organizations, which therefore is going to build trust. It's also so important to stay not only in line with trends, but actually a step ahead of them. And with the growing demand for sustainability, ethical sourcing, and inclusivity, your business, once certified, can meet these customer expectations, which leads nicely into my next benefit, having that competitive edge. If you have a certification, you will stand out because you're going to be showcasing your commitment to sustainability, to your values, to your goals, which is going to attract this growing market of eco-conscious clientele. Certifications can also give assurance to customers that they are getting a quality, safe, and ethically sound service, which serves as a guarantee of your standards, and their confidence in you is going to reflect as customer loyalty. Certifications can also ensure that your business is compliant with local, national, or international regulations. And remember, if you are a business that is within tourism, it may also be important that your customers have somewhere to stay that is compliant to global regulations. This compliance will also hold businesses accountable to these standards. Having a certification also can boost employee morale and engagement. They will take pride in working for a company that is committed to standards and that is actually taking action related to their values. Certifications can also save businesses money, and one of the ways they do this is by improving processes, for example, recycling, making use of cheaper plant-based foods, making eco-cleaning products themselves, and so on. You may have noticed, as I've been talking about all of these benefits, that on a couple of occasions I've said some certifications. And the reason for this is because of greenwashing. So some certifications can help to avoid greenwashing. I'm sure you all know this term, but basically it is promoting or exaggerating your sustainability environmental efforts to make them seem more sustainable than they actually are. So how can you avoid doing this? First of all, by educating yourself and your team on true best practices around sustainability, by setting goals and taking action on these, making sure that you are revisiting your progress often, and being transparent in all of the practices. It's also important to choose legitimate third-party certifications that are going to actually provide value in you achieving your sustainability goals. Certifications need to be more than just a promotion of your business, because otherwise all you are actually doing is paying for marketing, and you could therefore be in danger of greenwashing. So what sort of certifications are available? They really fall under three main categories. The first one that I've mentioned a lot here is sustainability and eco-focused. The second one being making use of or sourcing ethical products or services. And the third one being wellness related, which we've heard a lot about in a couple of the other talks today. So you might be wondering, okay, what is the connection between these three categories of certifications and veganism? The first one is sustainability. And if we look at our environment, with animal agriculture being the leading contributor to deforestation, water usage, greenhouse gas, it's really important that we are starting to include more plant-based options on our menus. The next one is ethics, ethical sourcing. And of course, we can easily ensure that we are not harming animals and being cruel to them if we simply keep them off of the menu. But we can also take it further than this and consider selecting other cruelty-free practices in things like our guest amenities, cleaning products, as well as the activities that we are promoting. And the final certification type being wellness. I'm sure you are all very familiar with the retreat industry, which is a massive business that we've also heard about today. And for the most part, you'll find that retreats are always serving plant-based food, with plant-based diets being known to lower the risks associated with serious medical conditions such as cancer and cardiovascular disease. It's really important that we're taking this into consideration in our hospitality industry. So who is driving this huge demand? In general, sustainability conscious travelers, people who identify as empaths, and this is especially true of Gen Z and millennials, but also people who identify as being vegetarian or flexitarian, plant-based, plant-forward, as well as health-conscious guests and guests with allergies. So it's a huge chunk of our population that falls somewhere within this. There are many early adopters within this industry who are really taking note and taking action on this demand. And I've got a few here on the screen, such as Sodexo, who say that they are ahead of their schedule for net zero plans, as 11% of all of their UK and Ireland meals sold are going to be meatless. And then we've got IHG, Greater China, and they have set pledges to shift 30 to 70% of their menus to plant-based by next year. And that will be across 3,500 of their hotels, which is amazing because if you think about it, our poll earlier, we were talking about 50%. So imagine going even beyond that in the direction of 70%. We also have the Hilton, who has the world's first vegan suite in London. There's also Accor, which has, it really talks about the fact that climate change is really urgent and how food and beverage is a key pillar of their strategy to reduce their environmental impact. And then the Hyatt has their food philosophy, which clearly states how important plant-based dining is to them. So the question is, are you yourselves, if you are within the hospitality and tourism industry, ready to be a pioneer? You can start to consider these 3 questions. Is your hotel ready to make a commitment to transition to a portion of your menus to being plant-based? Are you seeking an expert team to guide your food and beverage leaders through this implementation process? And do you want to offer a holistic travel experience to vegan and plant-based travelers? So I'd like to introduce to you our vegan hospitality and tourism certification. Meredith made mention to this in her opening talk, and this is the highest standard in the industry. We are setting the standard for vegan-friendly guest services and plant-forward programming. Certification means that your vegan guests will have an experience that is equivalent in quality to what your traditional guests will experience at your accommodation. The certification includes a data-secure, third-party verified certificate and badge that you can use in all of your marketing materials. You will also meet with a certified consultant that will be able to guide your team in building a strategic plan for achieving your plant-forward and climate-friendly accommodation goals. We also include a vegan guest services online staff training course, which will help to boost employee professional development, and you can also use this to onboard new employees. There's a certificate available for every single employee who watches the video, which is also compatible to be linked to LinkedIn. And we offer promotional support to the vegan travel community on a global scale. So if this sounds really exciting to you, you are probably wondering, does your hotel or your lodge meet our criteria? And our criteria is for you to have at least one on-menu or on-buffet vegan meal option for each day of the average guest night stay. So if you serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it would include all 3 of those meals. We also want that vegan desserts and snacks mirror the quality of your options for your non-vegan guests. For those of you who are watching who are vegan here, you will all be thinking you don't want another plate of fruit. So fruit cannot be the only vegan dessert. There also needs to be plant-based milk options available on all menus where you're serving tea and coffee. And cross-contamination should be taken into consideration, both back of house in the kitchen as well as front of house, for example, on buffet design and maintenance. Once certified, you will have access to use our certification logo on your website, which is pictured here on the screen. And our logo has been branded with discretion in mind, which will support accommodations that are not targeting 100% vegan guests. But at the same time, our logo is well established within the vegan community. So, when is the best time to get started? Quite simply, the best time is now. Don't wait until you are the only hotel without a third-party certification and you are being asked what certifications you have. Don't wait until you are called out for not aligning your menu with your sustainability values. And don't wait until you realize that you aren't on track with your sustainability goals and that you are actually in danger of unintentionally greenwashing. I want to finish off by highlighting some pioneers who have become certified by us. This is a global certification, and we've got Sashwa, who we've heard from Peter earlier, that is certified for their opening later this month. Sunway Resort Hotel in Kuala Lumpur, Bukati and Tara Resort in Aruba, Peace of Eden in South Africa, Gibbs Farm in Tanzania, Boardwalk Boutique Hotel in Aruba, King's Camp in South Africa, Machendo Beach Resort in Aruba, Old Joe's Kaya in South Africa, and Three Tree Hill, also in South Africa. So if you want to be on this list, then you can go ahead and apply for certification on our website. You can also get support from us. Our website is written here on the screen, veganhospitality.com, and we'll also pop it in the chat. And you can connect with us. The best place to do this will be on LinkedIn, either with myself, Hayley Cooper, or with Meredith Marin. And we would love to answer any questions that any of you have about our certification. If you want to drop them in the chat, we'll be hanging around for a little while, and we would love to just answer anything. And yeah, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Hayley. And like Hayley said, we'll just keep an eye out on the chat for another moment. I love how we always do such a great time with timing on our conferences. We always end right on time. So I want to thank all of you for being here. If you have any questions about certification, of course, you can go to the links that I just dropped in the chat. We have FAQ there. We have a whole brochure about certification. If you follow us on Instagram, I just reposted from some of our certified properties. They are promoting that they are certified and sharing some of the work that they're doing. So it's a beautiful, exciting community to be part of, people who want to promote this, want to promote the good work that they're doing. And we're so happy to have them in our fold. Thank you all so much for being here. Keep an eye out for my email. I will be sending the recording, and we encourage you to share it with anyone from your team that wasn't able to make it live today. We encourage you to share on LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this conference and want to share some takeaways, please tag us, tag me or Hayley or any of the presenters that you learned from. We love for you to share. That's how we get more people in our network. That's how we bring more information to the masses. We also encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn. We have a newsletter that we send out monthly. So we're not going to spam your inbox, but we love to communicate with you and continue to share and continue to spread the word about what we're doing and learn from the people in our network. So I see we've got a lot going on in the chat. Yes, Jen from Peace of Eden is sharing about her certification and her property as well. Thank you so much, everyone. We are going to end 5 minutes early today, and I look forward to connecting with all of you in the future. Have a wonderful rest of your World Vegan Day. Bye, everyone.